بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا، سيدنا ومولانا أبا القاسم محمد عليه وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين منذ آدم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعلها الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض ولكن كذبوا فأخذناهم بما كانوا يكسبون. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-A'raf, ayah number 96, and if the people of the towns had believed and guarded against evil, we would certainly have opened up for them blessings from the heaven and the earth, but they rejected, so we overtook them for what they had earned. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. After establishing the aim and objective of the Mahdawi mission, the mission of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, and the establishment of his government, and discussing the tools that the Imam salamullah alayhi would use to implement this justice and to establish the religion, we have now begun to look at what the world would look like during the era of the Imam salamullah alayhi, and the components of this divine government. And we discussed last night the technological advancements of the Imam and the importance of knowledge at the time of the Imam alayhi salam. And we discussed whether the rule of the Imam salamullahi alayhi would be via miracles. Is this what the Imam alayhi salam relies on? Is this how he establishes his authority and achieves his mission? Or is it that the Imam alayhi salam relies on natural causes and cause and effect? And we said that it is both. The Imam alayhi salam establishes his rule through cause and effect, and through natural causes and natural means, and also Allah Azza wa Jal, in order to elevate the status of the Imam and in order to highlight his stature, also provides the Imam with numerous miracles. One of the components, or one of the blessings that we will witness inshaAllah ta'ala, if we are amongst those who reach the government and the nation of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, is the economic growth and the abundance of wealth and of blessings that the earth will live in at the time of Imam al-Zaman. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. Economic prosperity, we learn from our riwayat and from the Holy Quran, at the time of Imam al-Mahdi will be the law of the day. We have several narrations inshallah. We said that we bring about these narrations not simply for entertainment, but so one can develop in his heart a strong love and admiration and a craving for the government of this Imam, which is the government of Al-Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. This economic prosperity, we have the same question that we asked last night regarding the knowledge and the technological advancements, the same question. This economic prosperity, what is its cause? Where does it come from? Why does it come? Why wasn't it present before? Why do we only see it at the time of the Imam alayhi salam? We'll start with a few narrations inshallah regarding this economic prosperity. In a narration attributed to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, where the Imam alayhi salam, and we mentioned a similar narration in earlier nights, وَحَكَمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِحُكْمِ دَاوُودَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ وَحُكْمِ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ, and that the Imam alayhi salam will come and he will judge between people and rule between them the same rulings of Dawood, or in the same method that Dawood alayhi salam ruled, and in the same method that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi ruled with. فَحِينَئِذٍ, and then when the Imam rules with these rulings, فَحِينَئِذٍ تَظْهَرِ الْأَرْض كُنُوزَهَا, the earth, the ground, will bring forth its treasures. وَتُبْدِي بَرَكَاتَهَا, and it will bring forth its blessings and its bounties. وَلَا يَجِدِ الرَّجُلْ مِنْكُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ مَوْضِعًا لِصَدَقَتِهِ, and then the man from amongst you will not find a place to give in his charity. Why? وَلَا بِرِّهِ لِشُمُولِ الْغِنَى جَمِيعِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, the Imam alayhi salam says. He says, because wealth will encompass all of the believers at this time. Can you imagine that? You are walking around begging people to take your sadaqah, and you are not finding anyone worthy of this sadaqah. No one is worthy of this charity. No one needs this charity. Everyone is comfortable. Everyone is happy. People have enough money. There is prosperity. There is wealth. There is bounty. There is sufficient. It is plentiful. This is how the ahadith describe the government of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Now there are three main reasons that bring about this economic prosperity. The first reason is through the Imam alayhi salam's miracles. We have a narration by Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam that says, القائم منا منصور بالرعب مؤيد بالنصر تطوى له الأرض وتظهر له الكنوز. That the Qa'im عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف, the first part of the hadith is not our concern. We'll translate it and we'll speak about it in coming nights, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That the Qa'im, Allah Azza wa Jal, will aid him with fear, meaning he will put fear in the hearts of his enemies, and he will also grant him victory, and that the earth will be folded for him, meaning the Imam alayhi salam can travel at great speeds, great distances at great speeds. Now here, وَتَظْهَرْ لَهُ الْكُنُوز, and the hidden treasures of the earth will come forth. We have narrations saying that the Imam alayhi salam will go to Egypt and will bring forth the treasures and the secrets from beneath the pyramids. So the first one is there'll be economic prosperity because of the abundance of miracles. The second reason is because the Imam alayhi salam has established a government, as we said, of justice, and has established and upheld the Quran. And this is where we refer to the verse we opened up with. If we pay attention here to this verse, what's Allah Azza wa Jal say about this prosperity? He says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَى, and if the people of the towns had believed and guarded against evil, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَى آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ, that if the people of the towns had believed and guarded against evil, Allah Azza wa Jal says, we would have certainly opened up for them blessings from the heaven and the earth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that when the people are God-fearing, when people have established truth and have established justice, this is tied to the barakah, this is tied to the bounties that Allah Azza wa Jal will bring down on the people. Why? Because we said there is a difference between having belief, being a mu'min, and being someone who establishes the religion. We mentioned the verse the other night, Allah Azza wa Jal addressing Ahlul Kitab, saying that had they upheld and established the scriptures before them, we would have fed them, or they would have eaten from above their heads and beneath their feet. Now this is an indication to the two sides we are speaking about. The first is the side of miracles, that Allah Azza wa Jal will bless them with abundance. The second one is that had these people, and us too, the people of the Quran, had we established religion, had we upheld the Holy Quran and upheld the economic system of the Holy Quran, and upheld the economic system of the Holy Quran, then wealth will be in abundance naturally. Allah Azza wa Jal, when He put us here on this earth, He placed us on this earth with all the components and necessities of life in abundance, in great abundance. There is enough food for everybody. There is enough water for everybody. There is enough shelter for everybody. There is enough crops for everyone. There is enough wealth for everyone. However, it is only when man decided to follow his desire and incline towards his satanic desires did the hoarding and the greed begin. Did one team or one side prosper at the expense of the rest? You see, Islam has a very detailed economic system. Very detailed. For example, when we look at the tax system in Islam, when we discuss khums and zakat, if you open up, without getting into a jurisprudential talk here or discussion, but if you look in the books of jurisprudence on what we are meant to be paying khums on, you will find that apart from your excessive annual savings, you will find that there is khums on al-ma'adin, precious metals that come out of the ground, like gold and silver and titanium and whatever precious metal, iron, copper, all of it, all of this belongs to the Imam alayhi salam. So on all of it, we pay khums. In society, we know that when cash changes hands, this is how an economy runs. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be saving. You can save. But even on your savings, there is khums if your savings are excessive. If your savings are more than what is necessary, refer to the books of your maraja on what khums applies. But one of the philosophies behind khums is this: to have continuous cash flow, so that wealth continues to flow and money continues to flow in society. And on the other hand, we have so many narrations regarding what we call al-ihtikar. Ihtikar is to have a monopoly, to hoard particular, products. For example, just so we can understand the concept of ihtikar, this monopoly or this hoarding. One that, a recent example, COVID hit, and right before we went into lockdown here in Sydney, and this happens every time we fear we are going into lockdown, what happens? People rush to the supermarket and for some absurd reason, clear out the shelves of essentials. Bottled water, pasta, flour, bread, for some very odd reason, toilet paper. We don't know why. Maybe they misunderstand what COVID does or the effects of COVID, but anyway. And people go and buy much more than what they want. much more than what they need, much more than what they will use, to the extent that more often than not, a lot of it is thrown away, especially if it's foods, fresh foods. And they hoard and they hold on to these products. This is called al-ihtikar. This hoarding in our jurisprudence is haram. It's not makruh, it's haram. I'll bring you a few narrations regarding this type of hoarding. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. This is one narration by the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi regarding the one that hoards wealth and essentials, essential food or necessities of life, such as petrol, for example. The Holy Messenger says in one narration, Al-Muhtakar Mal'oon. He who hoards these essentials and deprives others of it is mal'oon. He is cursed. In another narration, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله المحتكر في سوقنا كالملحد في كتاب الله. The one who hoards in our markets, the markets of the Muslims, who goes out and buys grains and flour and rice and whatever is necessary for life, buys them in bulk so that he may store them, so that he may have a monopoly on them to drive the price up and later on sell it at a higher price. The Prophet ﷺ says, this person, it is as if he has disbelieved in the book of Allah. He's a disbeliever in the book of Allah. In another narration, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يقوم المحتكر مكتوب بين عينيه يا كافر تبوأ مقعدك من النار. يا كافر تبوأ مقعدك من النار. This hoarder will be resurrected on the day of judgment. Written on his forehead will be Ya Kafir, O disbeliever. Glad tidings to you, or not so glad tidings, but be assured of your seat in Jahannam. Why? When we see this, and Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, here in Australia and in most places of the world, maybe, we only saw this on a small scale during particular emergencies, correct? We saw this now during COVID. But if you go to other parts of the world, for example, Lebanon today, because of the unjust economic sanctions placed on Lebanon, we find many people, unjust people, not God-fearing people, godless people, if we are even going to call them people. What they do is, for example, there is a government subsidy on petrol. They know that there is, today I can purchase petrol at a cheap price. If I own a petrol station or a gas station, I can buy it at a cheap price from the government. And instead of selling it to the people at this particular price, what do? They hoard. They hold on to this product, whether it be petrol or gasoline or whatever. They hold on to it. What's this do? It drives the prices up. And then in a month or two, they will sell it at triple or quadruple the price in order to make a profit. This creates chaos in society. When a society does not have financial stability, when a society cannot guarantee for its citizens financial growth, when a government cannot guarantee or provide for its citizens economic stability, the seeds of discord begin to flourish in the hearts of its citizens. There is a saying which is wrongfully attributed to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and it's in fact attributed to Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, where he says, I am astonished at the one who cannot guarantee his essentials for the day, meaning the one who cannot guarantee food and water and shelter for himself and his family. I am astonished that he does not unsheath his sword. Because when people are hungry, when people can't guarantee their essentials of life, when people cannot feed their wife, their children, when people don't have money to buy medicine, people start to look outside the law and outside the means of the law and outside the civil protocols. You try going hungry for a day. Try it, and inshallah you never witness this. But try having a child who is sick, a few months old, with a temperature of 38, crying, screaming, bloody murder, day and night, and you cannot find medicine for him because the godless have hoarded this medicine. It's not that it's not there, it's there, but they have hidden it so that they may sell it at a later time at an inflated price. And then, God forbid, something happens to this child. So Islam in its economic system has put in place controls in order to prevent this. So we see economic growth and economic prosperity in the government of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, because we said A, Allah Azza wa Jal sends down his bounties from the sky and brings forth the treasures of the earth, and B, because Sharia is applied, because the book of Allah is applied, because the Islamic economic system is applied, because the Islamic judicial system is applied, it guarantees that such evildoers cannot hoard and corrupt society economically. And just let us focus on the issue of the Imam alayhi salam bringing forth the bounties of the earth. Just so we can understand, brothers and sisters, how much we have been robbed. You and I have been robbed. The Muslims of today have been robbed blind. When we speak about the bounties of the earth, we know today in the 21st century, the greatest bounty, after water of course, which is now becoming scarce, is petrol. It's what makes the earth go around. It's a reason we're able to have energy. It's a reason our cars drive. It's a reason our produce gets from place to place, our planes fly, etc., etc. It makes the earth go around. Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed this ummah and placed the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi in a geographical location, economically strategic, with these vast bounties being plentiful. Plentiful. We are the people of oil. We are the people of natural gas. The entire Muslim world sits on trillions and trillions of cubic meters of oil and gas. Trillions, not billions, trillions. And yet, the poorest nations in the world are Muslim nations. You can go today to one of the largest exporters of oil and gas in the world, the Kingdom of Al Saud, and you will find people who do not have money to eat every day and who will eat every other day. You will find that there is the extremely rich and the extremely poor. And you will find the same in the sheikhdoms and kingdoms of Bahrain and the Emirates and Oman and Kuwait, where the royal families and those around them live in excessive gluttonous wealth, and their people amongst the poorest in the world. Had we established and upheld the Quran and Sunnah regarding this wealth, and had it been distributed amongst the Muslims equally and justly, and had it been used for the betterment of the Muslims, think of the outcome. I'll draw you a picture. Imagine this. Imagine the oil, the natural gas, the crude oil, the petrol, all these energy resources which are found in Arabia and the Near East, in the Islamic Republic of Iran. So imagine today, Iran, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the Emirates, Turkey. All of these, Lebanon has great economic potential. Gas and oil fields, some of the biggest in the world, but they are not allowed to touch it. But imagine all of these nations with these energy resources, with all of this petrol and all of this oil. Imagine all of them as one mega economy, one superpower, with this wealth distributed amongst its citizens and the rest of it used for the betterment of the ummah. What other superpower would exist? We would be the superpower. We would rule the world with a tap. Do what we say, or we shut off energy to the rest of the world. The world will be at our feet, and this is the main reason that the enemies of this ummah have established these corrupt regimes in our regions, so that our economies are never united and this wealth is never spread, and we are never making use of it and putting it to use where it is meant to be. And this brings me to the third reason why there will be economic prosperity, in a very interesting narration by sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, look at this. Such a strange narration by the Holy Messenger. He says, في ذكر المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف, when he's mentioning the government of Imam al-Zaman. He says, إذا قام قائمنا إذ محلت القطائع فلا قطائع. He says, if the Mahdi were to rise, he would eradicate القطائع. قطائع is what? القطائع is protection money that you pay to the oppressor. It is a tax you pay to the oppressor. Banu Umayyah la'anahumullah had this policy where they would pay the Romans a particular tax or give them authority or autonomy over particular cities and regions in the Islamic Empire just to be protected from them. And don't attack us, we'll pay you this much. We'll continue to pay you this particular tax. And at the same time, because we pay you these taxes, we pay you this protection money, this extortion, you will protect us when we need you. Which is what they did when Muawiyah fought Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Military advisors, political advisors coming from the Roman Empire and advising Muawiyah, and they remained and stuck around up until the istishhad of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And when we say this extortion money, we're not talking about a few dollars here. We're talking about great amounts of wealth that are given to the oppressors by these oppressive regimes in the name of Islam, in order for them to be protected and in order for them to benefit from these oppressive entities. Today, we see this, not only do we see we see it on a grand scale. Wallahi, you and I are being robbed. We have a right that has been stripped of us and stripped away from our parents. And because of this, we have been forced into exile. Forced. Brothers and sisters, your parents, your grandparents were forced into exile. Nobody deliberately wants to leave his homeland. Nobody. If it wasn't for the lack of security and the corruption and the bloodshed and the oppression and the tyranny, none of our parents would leave. We have been forced into exile because of these tyrannical regimes who have taken the wealth which is rightfully ours, and they have taken it and used it to subdue us and oppress us and to pay and give a great bulk of it to the enemies of this ummah. A recent example in history, and by the way, this happens every single day. Every single day. But a great example, and many of you are aware of it, happened a few years ago. When Trump went to Saudi Arabia. In one visit. Look at the misery of this ummah. He visits the holiest of lands, the land of the Kaaba, the land of Mecca and Medina, the home of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Qibla of the Muslims, and meets with he who claims to be the custodian of the two holy shrines, Khadim al-Haramain al-Sharifain, the center of the Islamic world. And he is welcomed like a hero, like a champion of the Muslim world, like a friend of the Muslim world. And in one meeting, he takes away from the wealth of this ummah $500 billion. $500 billion. You know what that means? You know what $500 billion means? It means 500 million. $500 billion in one meeting. From the wealth of this ummah was given to this wretched monster. And in the very same city that this meeting took place, there are Muslims that eat garbage, that every night go and scour in the rubbish bins to eat. Next door, in neighboring Yemen, There are Muslims who thank Allah Azza wa Jal when there is a locust plague, because they view this as an abundance of food. Over 1 million children in Yemen are dying or will die of starvation because of the blockade and embargo of Al Saud. And they don't need $500 billion. They don't need 500 billion. If they were given $1 billion, the people of Yemen will eat and develop and prosper. Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif will eradicate this practice, because he will eradicate these hypocrites and these terrorists who rule over us. They will be removed. And this wealth will be regained. So imagine how much we are giving to them if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is saying that you will prosper because of this. You see, when it comes to the Islamic economic system, and we can speak for nights and nights on end about the components of economy in Islam. But this system is designed in such a manner that if it were to be implemented properly, no Muslim, rather no citizen, Muslim or not, of this state will go to sleep hungry. You know, one of the crimes of those committed before Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, one of the things that led to the Ummah coming to the door of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, begging him to take the reins of this Ummah, one of the things that led to the revolution and overthrow of the third is this corruption. Baytul Mal, the treasury of the Muslims, they say in a narration that when Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, when he gained control of the treasury and he opened it up, he was astonished with the amount of wealth in it. Gold dinars and darahim stored and hoarded in there, along with the wheat and the barley. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam commanded his companions, empty it, all of it. Empty all of it. All these gold coins and all this wheat and all this barley, and distribute it amongst the Muslims. What are we doing? What good is wealth if you hoard it? Look at the powers that be today. We have hundreds of millions, not tens, hundreds of millions of people suffering from starvation in Africa and in Yemen and in parts of Asia. Hundreds of millions. And every single day, don't take this from me, go and look it up. And every single day, in order to maintain the price of certain products like rice, like wheat, like barley, which are essential in life, the great capital powers dump millions of tons of these products in the ocean in order to maintain their price. These are the nations that claim that they are at the forefront of democracy and of humanity, and they want to dictate to us what democracy is and what humanity is. These people who have starved half the world, who have forced half the world into submission through the most gruesome of wars. And I tell you, brothers and sisters, an economical war is much more gruesome than a military war. Ask me. I've seen both. I've seen both. What these last 2 years have done to our brothers and sisters in Lebanon, no war, Zionist or otherwise, has done. Talk to people who have survived the civil war, the invasion of 82, the war of 96, the war of 2006, and they will tell you we have reached a stage we are begging for those days to return. Because when you starve a people, when you deprive them of their basic necessities, when people have to line up for 4 or 5 hours just to get a few liters of petrol so that they can go to a job which no longer pays them more than $50 a month, so that they can provide for a family that live in a house that has no power. You know what this does to a people? The psyche of the human brain changes. The way people think changes. It alters you. It changes you. You become less human. And it is only because we have placed our economic decisions in the hands of those who are not God-fearing and in the hands of those who have allied themselves with tyranny that we have reached this point. It is only because we have abandoned our Islamic duties of zakat and khums. Many of us, alhamdulillah, perform our duty of zakat and khums. But I tell you, you'll be surprised at the number of so-called God-fearing people who will pray and fast and go to Hajj and give zakat and give sadaqah. But when it comes to khums, this 20%, this is a red line. And they will look for every loophole to get away from it. Do you know who you are escaping? Do you know who you are trying to fool? Do you know who you are stealing from? You are stealing from Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. Khums is his. In fact, all your wealth is his. All he has asked for is 20%. 20%. And we have abandoned, some of us, this wajib. And we are okay with seeing our neighbors starve and live on the brink or under poverty. And we are okay with witnessing what is happening to our brothers and sisters, whether they be in Iraq or in Bahrain or in Yemen or in Lebanon, anywhere in the world. We are okay with that poverty, as long as we maintain our gluttonous life. If we are stingy with the Imam alayhi salam today in his occultation, I guarantee you, you will be stingy at the advent of the Imam alayhi salam. You know, many in Kufa that sent for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, many of them really wanted Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to come. If not all of them, genuinely wanted al-Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam to come. But as soon as Ibn Ziyad arrived in Kufa, and they realized that this is going to cost them their businesses, and they'll be losing wealth, and they'll be losing an income, many of them abandoned Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And it drove some of them to join the ranks of Umar ibn Sa'd on the sands of Karbala and take part in the killing of al-Hussein alayhi salam and the children of al-Hussein alayhi salam. If you are stingy with Allah Azza wa Jal regarding wealth, definitely you'll be stingy with Allah Azza wa Jal regarding your soul and regarding your blood. Stinginess on all levels in Islam is hated. We have so many narrations that speak about the bakhil, he who is stingy, he who is stingy on himself. And I'm astonished sometimes. I have brothers, sisters coming to me, speaking to me about the head of the family, the father, for example, that he won't spend on his children. You don't spend on your children. Who do you spend on? Not too long ago, a sister was complaining that the husband does not give them enough money for the family. 4 or 5 children. Said, how much does he give you, sister, a week? Says to me, a week about $100. I said, $100 Australian to spend and feed the mouths of yourself, your husband, and 5 children. You guys live here in Sydney, you know how expensive this place. $100 won't even buy you 2 packets of cigarettes if you smoke. And he refuses to give any more. So, okay, what if he doesn't have money? He says, doesn't have money. This guy's got, MashaAllah, in his accounts. And he'll save with his mother and with his father, but he won't spend on his family. And Islam comes and encourages generosity and encourages you to give. Not only so that we do not have this immense attachment to the physical and material world, and not only so that we may help our fellow man, but like we said, also to keep society afloat, to keep generating an economy. Islam wants wealth to continue to flow. You know, this is something very interesting. Not many people know. Sadaqah is mustahab, correct? To give charity is mustahab. And we find it is so mustahab in so many instances. Our imams tell us to give sadaqah, alayhim salam. You want to cure the sick, give sadaqah. You have a particular prayer that you want answered, give sadaqah. You want to go for ziyarah, give sadaqah. You want wealth, give sadaqah. True? But you know what our narrations tell us is better than sadaqah? Look at this. Look at the wisdom in our religion. Look at the wisdom in our economic philosophy. What is more mustahab than sadaqah? Loan. To loan your brother money. To loan a believer money, give him a qard al-hasan, is more beloved in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal than sadaqah. And sadaqah is very beloved. Why? They say the philosophy of this is many. First of all, when I give a believer a loan, I have protected his dignity. I haven't made him feel like a beggar. I have said to him, I acknowledge that you are a provider and you are capable as a man or a woman of providing and generating an income. You're going through a tough time. I'm going to loan you this money. And return it to me when Allah Azza wa Jal opens it up for you. This is the first thing. Second of all, it encourages this person that you have given this sadaqah to, it encourages him to get up on his feet and generate an income which generates an economy. It encourages him to get up and work and to work harder to pay you back. Therefore, keeping society afloat. So in the wisdom of Allah Azza wa Jal, a loan, a non-interest loan, of course, because we know interest is haram in Islam. Al-riba is one of the greatest sins. Allah Azza wa Jal describes those who make a living out of riba, out of interest, describes them as those who are being beaten by the devils. And it is only through the systems of injustice that these interest banking systems have been established. Brothers and sisters, one of the main reasons that the enemies of Islam are enemies of Islam is because Islam puts in place protocols and laws and morals that will absolutely eradicate their economies. We'll end with this, but let's just take a look at their economies and what Islam presents. Their economies are built on what? Oil, which they have pillaged from us. And Islam comes and says to you, no, you are going to stand up and you're going to resist and you're going to take hold of your resources which Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed you with. This doesn't sit well with them. So they have declared war on Islam. An interest-based banking system which makes the rich richer and the poor poorer and more miserable because they're stuck in an endless cycle of debt, most of us until the end of our lives. And this interest is on local scales and global scales, and it's how their economies remain afloat. Islam comes and eradicates this interest-based banking system. This doesn't sit well with them, so they have declared war against us. Forgive me for this, but the sex industry, pornography, and everything associated with pornography and immoral acts keeps their economies afloat, and Islam comes and eradicates this. So they have declared war on us. Drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are big money makers for these economies. Islam comes and eradicates this. So they have declared war on us. Gambling. Gambling on a monstrous level. The establishment of entire cities dedicated to gambling. The establishment of high-rise buildings dedicated to gambling. And they have been so innovative to the extent they said, don't come to us anymore. We'll send the gambling to you. Sit at your home, in your bed, anytime, anywhere, and gamble away. It's ridiculous. You can gamble on anything. Anything. I remember I used to work in the railways. You could gamble on whether a train will be late or on time. Legit. An application opening up thousands of people. Thousands of dollars. Now with COVID, people gambling on what the numbers are going to be tomorrow. Making money off this, losing money off this. Islam comes, ends gambling, fights gambling. This doesn't sit well with them. They have declared war on us. Monopolies, hoarding of wealth. This is how they maintain their power over nations and over people. Islam comes and puts an end to this. Why would they love us? We stand against everything that is holding up their economies. The economy of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam is the best thing to happen to the people of the earth and the worst thing to happen to the economies of tyranny. And if we do not get ourselves used to the economy of Islam in our day-to-day lives, if we do not get ourselves used to giving sadaqah, giving loans to one another, if we do not get ourselves used to not hoarding, not being stingy, being generous, keeping wealth afloat amongst us, then we, along with the tyrants, will find it economically disadvantage being in the government of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. We'll start to wish that the advent of the Imam will be delayed so that my pocket may be protected, wal-'iyadhu billah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us amongst those who love the advent of the Imam alayhi salam more than their own pockets and their wealth, and that He does not make us amongst the stingy, and that we are amongst those who not only spend in their wealth, spend in their souls and everything dear for them for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal and for the sake of the government of Imam al-Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum wa la'an aduwahum. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة بمحمد وعترته الطاهرة صلواتك عليه وعليهم أجمعين، وعجل فرجهم واهلك عدوهم.